is an organization of numbers into row and columns. Okay? That's what a matrix is. If you ever saw the Keanu Reeves movie, right? Okay?
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah? You ever saw that movie, The Matrix? It was all an organization of numbers in rows and columns. All right. This particular kind is called an augmented matrix because see this line here? Can you kind of guess what its function is?
Equals.
Yeah, it's like the equals sign. It's separating the side that has the variables from the constants. Okay? All right. So our goal in using his method is to take our augmented matrix and to get it into this, which is called the identity matrix. It looks like binary code, I know, but it's not. So if you know binary code, like don't activate that part of your brain right now. Okay? Think about what this is saying though. If we realize that this is just an organization of our system, right? These are the coefficients of x, the coefficients of y, the coefficients of z. What is this top row telling us? X is this number, right? This row is telling us y is that number, and z is that number, okay? So through a process of manipulating rows, we're going to get this to look like this, and these numbers, guess what? That's your order triple, x, y, z, okay?
This guy was really lazy or really smart?
Really smart, really smart. Okay, so how we do that? We've got legal moves that we can make, okay? And if you're into computer science, you're going to totally dig this, because this is kind of the same process, okay? You can do this by swapping rows. You can multiply a row by a number. You can add one row to another row. And I kind of drew a little thing here because isn't this what we did yesterday? Didn't we multiply and add rows together to do elimination? Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. We're just kind of cutting out the variables and doing it in like a faster, streamlined way. But I have to kind of show you it involves a little bit of code, and that's the part I have to teach you, okay? All right, so here's what we're going to do. On your paper, and I'm going to switch to line paper because I need those lines. Write down this matrix, okay? And totally use those 3 lines on your line paper, right? Write that down. I'm going to write mine down, and then we're all going to be together, okay? Let me get my stuff here. I need to have my lined paper. Where is it? Here it is. Found it. Bless you. This is example 1. One, 2, -3, 2, 2, -2, 1, 7. Okay, let me switch over to this right here. Get that down. Okay, so we all have that, right? All right, so up here, I'm just kind of going to write what our goal is. Remember, our goal is to get this matrix. 1, 0, 0 number, 0, 1, 0 number, 0, 0, 1 number, okay? Okay. So essentially all we're going to do is attack each piece of this matrix and turn it into this. There is a order that is best to do this with, okay? And it involves going in this order right here, starting here, going down. Whoops. Yes.
Can the student sign this piece?
Yeah, Harvey, put your hand up so we can have you sign that. All right. And of course my pen's dead. Of course that happened just now. Okay. So you start here, come down, go around, and then we start and you go like that. So if you draw that order, that's the order that we're going to approach this in, okay? Okay. So, according to that order, what is the number we're going to attack first? 2. Yeah, this 2. So I always, whatever number I'm going at, I just draw a little, I don't know, I just like do a little circle around it to identify that that's where I'm starting. All right. Now, I need to turn this 2 into a 0. And I have to think about how I'm going to do that.
-2.
And I have to do it with elimination. Now I can multiply and add a row to it, just like yesterday, right? So what row can I use to do that? I can use either one, right? I could use row 1 or I could use row 3. It really wouldn't matter. Why don't I just use row 3? So if I take row 3 times what? Not times 2, times -2, and if I add it to the second row, I will have done that. All right. Now this involves you have to write a row command, and here's how it would look. All right. I would be writing -2 row 3 plus row 2 into row 2. That's the code. That my 2 looks weird. I'm sorry. -2 row 3 plus row 2 into row 2. Okay? Now look, I am choosing to, now this is just personal preference. I write my row command on the same line which I am replacing. I am replacing row 2, so I'm writing it on row 2. All right, now I write my new matrix, and I am not changing row 1, right? So I'm going to leave row 1 the same. I'm just going to rewrite it. And I'm not changing row 3, so I'm just going to rewrite that. Okay, now row 2 is the one that I'm changing. So here's where I have to do the math, all right? I'm taking -2 times row 3. So in that first element, that's a 1, right? -2 times 1 is -2. I'm adding it to row 2, which is a +2. Those added together make a 0. I'm choosing to do my arithmetic down here. If you can do it in your head, fantastic. But I'm choosing to do it down here so I can keep track. Then I move to the next element, okay? -2 times row 3, so that would be another -2 times 1, which is -2, plus row 2, which in this case is -2. Adding those together give me -4. And I keep going all the way through the row. -2 times row 3, so -2 times this 2. It's -4, plus row 2, which is 1, makes -3, and -2 times row 3, which is -4, is 8, +8, plus row 2, which is 7. 8 plus 7 is 15. So it's a little bit of arithmetic that you have to keep up with, okay? Okay. Now we ask ourselves, what's next? I did that 0. Bottom left, right? That would be this 1 right here. So I just kind of do that, so I know that that's the 1. And I have to ask myself, how am I going to get rid of that? What do you think?
You have to use one row.
Yeah. Now, can I use row 2?
Yes.
No matter what I do with 0, I can't change it into anything that's going to eliminate 1 with. I have to use row 1. So maybe negative row 1 plus row 3 into row 3. So since I'm replacing row 3, I'm going to write negative row 1, or opposite row 1, plus row 3 into row 3. So I have to say what I'm doing, multiply and add, right, into whatever row I'm substituting in, okay? I don't have any room, I got to start down here. All right, first I copy down the rows that aren't changing. That would be the first 2. So I'm just going to copy those down because they are not changing. But this row is changing. All right, negative row 1, so that would be -1, plus row 3, which is 1. Add those together, 0. Then I move on. Opposite row 1, so -2. Plus row 3, which is 1. Add those together, -1. Moving along. Opposite row 1, +3. Plus row 3. Add these together, 5. Opposite row 1, which is +2. Plus row 3, -4. That's -2. Okay? Okay, moving along. Now I move on to this 0 right here, right? So that would be the number -1. Okay, now let's think about what row can I use to help me eliminate this -1? I know that it looks tempting to use this one, but look, if I use this first row and I somehow multiply it and I combine it with this one, I'm going to end up putting a number here. And I worked really hard to make that a 0. So I can't. You could change the bottom one, but yeah, I could say them times -2 or whatever. But if I add it with this one, I'm going to put a number here, right? And I don't want to do that because I worked really hard for that 0. So I need to use row 2. So what can I do? What could I do to make it with row 2 to make this be eliminated? Think about that. Yeah, exactly. Multiply row 3 by -4 because that'll make this one +4. Okay, so that's going to be -4 times row 3 plus row 2 into row 3, because row 3 is the one I'm replacing. Okay, all right. So I'm not changing the first 2 rows, so I rewrite those as they are. Okay, all right, to do row 3, -4 times row 3. So -4 times 0 is 0, plus 0 makes 0. Well, that one's easy. -4 times row 3, so -4 times -1 is 4, plus -4 is 0. -4 times 5 is -20, plus -3 makes -23, and -4 times -2 is 8, plus 15 makes 23. Okay. All right, so we've set up our zeros that are in the bottom, right? Okay, what's next? This has to be a 1. So we are not trying to eliminate this. We're trying to get it to a 1. So this guy right here needs to be a 1. So we got to think, I'm not going to multiply and add, because I do multiply and add when I want to eliminate something. When I want to make that a 1, I just multiply it by its reciprocal, right? Half times 2, right? A fourth times 4. Those make reciprocals. What's the reciprocal of -1 over, or -23?
1 over 23.
Yeah, -1 over 23, right? So all I'm going to do is multiply this row by -1 over 23. So I wrote -1 over 23 times row 3 into row 3. It's essentially saying divide by -23. But we have to say it with multiplication, not with division, okay? Okay, down here, first 2 rows stay the same. Copy them down. 0, -4, -3, 15. Okay. The good news is I multiply -1 over 23 by zeros. It's still 0. -1 over 23 times -23 is -1. And -1 over 23 times 23 is what? Oh, sorry, this one's 1, not -1. Sorry. No. I was thinking about the next one. That one's +1. This is the -1. Negative times negative is positive. Positive times negative. Okay. All right. So look at what this bottom row is saying. This bottom row is giving you a solution, right? What did we solve for down here?
-1.
Remember, this is x, y, z. So z is -1. We know that z is -1. Okay? All right, let's continue. So we hit that. Now we're going up right above it. We want this to be a 0. Okay? We want that to be a 0, so we got to think, how are we going to make that become a 0? Okay, but be careful of this top one. I can't use this top one and add it here because that's going to put a number there. I can't use any row that has zeros underneath it. Okay? I can't use any row that has zeros beneath it. So I have to use row 3. So I'm going to take
row 3 and do what with it? Multiply it by 3. That's a positive, right? I messed up. So this is going to be 3 times row 3 plus row 2 right back into row 2. Okay. So, top row doesn't change. Feels like you just rewrite the top row often. Third row didn't change, so I'm going to write that. Now I'm taking 3 times row 3 plus row 2 into row 2. So, row 3, that's 0. 3 times 0 is 0. Plus 0 makes 0. Then I move over here. 3 times 0 is 0. Plus negative 4 makes negative 4. 3 times 1 is 3. Plus negative 3 makes 0. That's what we wanted, right? 3 times negative 1 makes negative 3. Plus 15 makes 12. Okay. Excellent. Now I look, what's next? Oh, now I got to tack this middle one, and that needs to be a 1. Remember, when I want a 1, I'm not multiplying add, I'm just multiplying by the reciprocal. What's the reciprocal of negative 4? Negative 1/4, right? So this is going to be negative 1/4 times row 2 into row 2. That's going to make that a 1, right? Okay, so down here, I'm not changing row 1. I'm about to, though. It's getting there. I'm not changing row 3. I'm done with row 3. I'm never going to change it. Okay, negative 1/4 times row 2. So negative 1/4 times 0 is 0. That'll be 1, 0. Negative 1/4 times 12 is negative 3, right? Okay, we just solved another variable. What did we just solve for? Yeah, y is negative 3. All right, we're almost done. Now look at our little goal, our little thing up here. What's next? I start here with this 0 in the upper right. I need that to be a 0, okay? This guy needs to be a 0. So I need to use this in which other row?
3.
Has to be row 3. I can't use row 2 because that's a 0. It's never going to be anything other than 0. So, anyone want to take a guess at the row command? 3 times row 3
Plus row 1
into row 1. That's the one I'm replacing. But yeah, 3 row 3 plus row 1 into row 1. That's awesome. So I'm just going to rewrite. I like to rewrite the ones that aren't changing first. 0, 0, 1, negative 1. Okay. These get easier because you got a lot more zeros. So 3 times row 3 is 0, plus row 1 is 1. 3 times row 3 is 0, plus 2 is 2. 3 times row 3 is 3, plus negative 3 is 0. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, plus negative 2 makes negative 5. All right? Okay, we are almost at the end. The only thing left, thankfully that kind of was a 1 already, so I never have to worry about that, but now I have to make this be a 0. So this 2 has to turn into a 0. Okay, who knows the row command?
Negative 2 R1.
Negative 2 R2, yep, plus R1 into R1. Negative 2 row 2 plus R1 into R1. Yay! Okay, so we go down here. All right, so I am not changing rows 2 or 3. They are solid. They are good. All right, negative 2 times row 2 is 0. Plus row 1 is 1. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Plus 2 makes 0. Negative 2 times 0 plus 0 makes 0. Here we go. Negative 2 times negative 3 is 6. Plus row 1, which is negative 5, makes 1. Boom. We have reached our goal.
That is so cool.
All right. Only thing left to do is say the solution to this system is, remember this is x, y, z, right? X is 1, y is negative 3, negative 1. But really, don't you just feel like a total boss right now?
No.
Look at that.
Yeah, I heard that one. Like, I don't know what happened.
Wait, what just happened?
Okay. It's all right. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Oh, yeah. That's plenty of time. Here. There you go. All right. Write that down as your matrix. Write that down as a matrix. Convert that to a matrix. Okay? Come on. We're not done. I'm forgiving you for not believing in yourself right now. I believe in you. It's okay. We can do it. 2, negative 3. You are the brightest and best.
Thank you, Miss. My mom tells me that I always do.
There you go. All right. Can we convert that to a matrix? Because that's a pretty big skill. Like, can you figure out what that looks like as a matrix? Right?
Ever gonna use this in life?
Yes, right now. This life. No time like the present. Okay. Oh yeah, you got a quiz on this. I like to teach this the day after the deadline to drop. Yeah. All right, ready? All right, what number are we attacking first?
2.
2. Okay, what are we going to use with it?
1.
Row 1. All right, what's a row command?
Negative.
Negative 2, row 1, plus row 2 into row 2. All right. Fill out the part that's not changing first. Do that. It'll save yourself some headaches. 6. This one's not changing. Okay. I'm just copying, right? I can't do math that fast. I'm just copying the numbers. Okay. When it comes to the part that you have to do the work, like use your fingers, like point, right? Negative 2, row 1. So that would be negative 2 times 1, which is negative 2. Plus row 2, which is 2. Add those two little guys together, you get 0. Okay. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. Plus row 2 is negative 3. Add those two guys together, I get 1. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. Plus negative 5, I get negative 1. And negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. Plus 7 makes negative 5. All right, what's next? 3. All right, 3. Okay. Row command, what's it going to be? Negative 3, row. Well, the one I'm multiplying by negative 3 is row 1. Plus row 3 into row 3. Okay. So don't change rows 1 or 2. Feels like you rewrite row 1 a lot in the beginning. It's because you do. Okay. 0, 1. Okay. When we get there, we go negative 3 times row 1, which is negative 3, plus row 3, which is 3, makes 0. Negative 3 times negative 2 is 6, plus row 3 is 4. That makes 10. Negative 3 times negative 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Negative 3 times row 1, which is 6, so that'd be negative 18. Plus 2 makes negative 16. Okay, What's next? 10. Okay. Now got to be careful because you might want to use that -2, but you can't, right? We're not done. Don't you dare get your stuff put away. Come on. Use your brain. Can we use this row? No. We got 7 good minutes. We can finish this sucker. All right? We can't. I can't use a row that has zeros under it. I have to use this one. Okay. I have to use row 2. So what are we going to multiply by? -10, row 2, plus row 3, into row 3. Okay? All right. Absolutely not. Sit your butt down. Sit it down. You're doing this with me right now. And that's recorded, so it's etched in history. All right, here we go. 6, 0, 1, -1, -5. All right, now we're going to do the math. -10 times row 2 is 0, plus row 3 is 0, puts a 0 there. -10 and 10 makes 0. -10 times row 2, so -10 times -1 is 10. Plus row 3, which is 7, makes 17. -10 times -5 is 50. That's okay. Plus row 3, -16 makes 34. I know that looks weird, but look at this next step. 17. That has to turn into a 1. How do we turn it into a 1? 1 over 17 times R3. There's no multiply and add when you're turning it into a 1. You just multiply by the reciprocal. Okay? Okay. So keep the first 2 rows the same. 0, 1, -1, -5. 0, 0, 1, and what's that number going to be? 2. All right. What's next? -1. Okay. I can't use row 1 because there's got zeros under it. I can use this one. So this one will be 2 row 3. Sorry, not 2. What am I doing? What can I just do? I can do, just row 3. Yeah, what am I doing? Row 3 plus row 2. Sorry. They're already opposite. Row 3 plus row 2 into row 2. Yeah, they're already opposite. Okay. So 1, -2, -2, 6. Row 3 doesn't change. Row 3 plus row 2. So 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 plus -1 is 0. And 2 plus -5 is -3. Hey, we have 2 variables to solve for. Look, we don't even have to work on that one because it's already a 1. All right, what's the next one? -2 up here. Row command, anyone? Well, that has to be a 0. So we're going to multiply and add. Multiply.
2R3
Mm-hmm.
plus R1.
That's right. 2 row 3 plus row 1 into row 1. All right, we're going to finish, y'all. Okay. So these 2 don't change. I'm going to leave them the same. 0, 0, 1, 2. We have plenty of time. Okay. 2 times row 3. So that's 0. I'm sorry, yes. Plus row 1 is 1. 2 times 0 is 0. Plus -2 is -2. 2 times 1 is 2. Plus -2 is 0. And 2 times 2 is 4. Plus 6 is 10. All right. Look, we only have 1 to do. All right. Okay, row command.
2R2 plus R1.
2R2 plus R1 into R1. So, these stay the same. All right, 2 times row 2. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus negative 2 is 0. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 0 is 0. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6, plus 10 is 4.
We're done.
All right, what's the solution?
4 negative 3, 2.
4, negative 3, 2.
I understand this. I don't.
We get to practice more on Monday. You have 2 worksheet 8s. Okay, the second worksheet 8 is just solve the first worksheet 8 this way. We're going to practice that some more on Monday as well. Yeah. Yeah, there's 2 worksheet 8s. The second worksheet 8 says solve all from worksheet 8 with Gaussian elimination. Because yesterday's worksheet 8 was 3 by 3 elimination. So it's the same problems, just practicing solving. We're going to practice this more on Monday too. So, well, you just got to look at the calendar.